How about creating a shrine? This is a story from 15 years ago when I was in the 4th grade of elementary school. At that time, I used to play with a friend named Yamada a lot. Video games were popular at the time, but Yamada didn't have a game console because his parents wouldn't allow him to have one. Instead, he knew various ways to play in nature. I met him in a new class in the 4th grade of elementary school. I had been playing games all the time, so his way of playing was fresh and interesting to me. Also, he knew various places to play, such as the outlet where sewage flows into the river, which is a pipe more than 3 m high. We went there during the time when water wasn't flowing to explore the inside. There was also a transmission tower at the foot of the mountain. Looking back, it was probably a place we would have been scolded for if the school found out, but Yamada was knowledgeable about those kinds of places. So after school, the two of us rode our bikes around and went to various places in town. It's nostalgic when I think about it now. Yamada was a good person. He never said anything that would be disliked by others and was considerate to me. I only realize that kind of thing now. However, he never had pocket money, so it was my job to treat him to ice cream or drinks. Oh, I'm getting to the point now. This is a story that happened during summer vacation. We went to a shrine in a place a little away from where we live. It was a small shrine. I think there was no priest, and the door of the building was closed. Yamada said that there were antlion in the sand under the shrine, so we went to see them together. The shrine has a high floor and is open underneath. When we went underneath it, there was brown sand, and there were pits here and there. We put our hands into the sand and grabbed the central sand, and in our palms, there were antlion. No, we didn't kill them. We just observed them. It was the ants that we killed though. And even then, we didn't kill them. We just put live ants into the antlion's burrow. Even when the ants struggled to escape, the sand kept falling and they fell deeper into the hole. And when they fell to the center, a pair of scissors came out from the inside and caught the ant. We watched that for a while. But after an hour, we got bored and went around to the back of the shrine. It was a dark and damp feeling in the overgrown forest there. For some reason, there were many boards of different sizes stacked up against the pillars of the building. Maybe it was scrap wood left over from when the shrine was built. Yamada took a board and said, "Hey, why don't we try to build a shrine?" I thought it sounded interesting right away. So we worked together and built a small shrine. Of course, we didn't have any nails, but we buried the bottom of the boards in the soil and placed the roof boards on top. Yamada wanted to make it look like the roof of a triangular shrine, but it didn't work out. Still, we managed to build a small shrine that was a bit shorter than our height. Next, Yamada wanted to set up a torii gate. I thought it would be impossible, but it turned out to be surprisingly easy. We went into the forest and picked out as many straight branches as possible and tied them together with vines. Once the torii gate was complete, it gave off a real shrine-like atmosphere and I was quite satisfied. Then Yamada said, "This isn't enough, we need a divine object." We looked for something that could be a divine object, but we couldn't find anything suitable. While wandering around the forest, we found a small, weathered Jizo statue whose face had been worn away over time. He said, "Let's use this," and I quickly agreed. At the time, we didn't think it was wrong to move the Jizo statue. But it was tough from that point on. Even being small, the stone Jizo statue was quite heavy. We worked hard and eventually carried it to the shrine we had built. When we put the Jizo statue inside the shrine, it felt really complete. I tried to worship it immediately, but Yamada said, "An offering must be made to the shrine." I said, "Should I go get some bread or something?" He replied, "The gods won't be happy with bread. Let's make an offering." So, we went back to a spot inside a real shrine and he scooped up water with a ladle and mixed sand into balls. I followed his lead and made a few clumsy mud balls. Yamada said, "It's the final touch," and embedded antlion that he dug out into the dumpling. Holding it, he returned to the back of the main hall of our shrine, piled it up between the shrine's gate and the Jizo statue. and we clapped our hands and prayed. I don't remember what he wished for, but I think it was something like raising his test score. When it was over, we both felt a sense of accomplishment as if we had completed a task. He said, "I want to put a bell on it if possible." I had a small bell at my house, so we decided to come back the next day and attach it there. We played for about 2 hours that day and parted ways with he. The next day, I went to the shrine with him again. When I saw the dumplings we made yesterday, they had fallen apart and had small holes poked in them, as if someone had poked them with their little finger. Did Jizo dig them out and eat Antlion? Yamada said. But I thought maybe the Antlion had escaped on their own. Then we attached a small bell to them, making it even more like a shrine. We rang the bell.
Not enough.
I heard someone's voice. What? I looked around. Yamada asked me, "Did you just say something?" I said, "No, nothing." I thought I heard a voice say, "Not enough." Me too. Well, I don't know what it sounded like. I think it was a man's voice. And I don't think it was an old man's voice. It sounded more like a child's voice. Yamada suggested it must have been Jizo who said it, but I was surprised because Jizo is just a stone statue and can't talk. However, Yamada didn't seem to think it was strange. He suggested we catch frogs and put them in the dumplings, but I didn't like that idea, so I suggested offering sweets instead. We left the shrine, went to the candy store by bike, bought a bag of cheap candy, and offered it at the shrine. He didn't seem amused by that, so we played with insects in the forest instead, since he brought a net and a cage. Later, when we parted ways, I met my grandma, coming back from the field, in front of my house. As soon as she saw me, she looked a bit scared and said, "Hey, where did you play and get something black on your shoulder?" I said I didn't do anything. Bug catching. And showed her my insect cage, but she still grabbed me by the collar and dragged me into the house. She made me sit in front of the Buddhist altar for almost an hour, despite my protests and confusion. She eventually told me to stop playing weird games and do my homework. I went to the shrine and Yamada again the next day. In front of our shrine, there was a dead kitten. I thought, ugh. The kitten's body had several holes in it, as if it had been stabbed with a pencil. I asked him, "Did you do this?" He looked surprised and said, "No, I picked up the dead kitten and offered it, but I didn't make these holes. The bag of candy we bought yesterday is still intact. Maybe God liked the kittens and ate them." It made me feel sick, and my interest in the shrine quickly disappeared. I invited him to go to the pool, and he happily agreed. We left without paying our respects. At that moment, we heard the same voice saying,
Not enough.
But there was no one around. We ran to our bikes, and we sped off. We decided to go back to our houses, grab our pool equipment, and meet up again. But that was the last time I saw him. When we arrived at the meeting place with our pool equipment, I heard sirens and saw many parked cars. Police cars and ambulances were there. A person was being taken away on a stretcher, and I could only see their feet. It was his tattered shoes. There was nothing I could do, so I went home without going to the pool. I was watching TV alone when my mother came home from work and asked, "Did you hear that a child had an accident?" The neighbors were talking about it. "Do you know anything?" I shook my head. Later, I found out that it was indeed Yamada who had the accident. He was riding his bike behind a truck when several reinforcing bars fell off and pierced his head. He died on the spot. Then, my grandma came back before dinner and scolded me when she saw my face. She said, "I told you not to do anything wrong." She made me kneel in front of the family altar for 2 hours. That's pretty much it for this story. After that, Grandma didn't go to the field for a while. She stayed by my side, monitoring me, and I was made to do homework. Thanks to that, I only managed to finish my homework during that summer vacation before the new school term. Even though I was closest friends with Yamada at school, I wasn't invited to his funeral. His family had joined a new religion, and it seemed like they had a funeral among themselves. Of course, I haven't told anyone about the shrine incident. This is the first time I'm talking about it. That shrine. After summer vacation was over, I was scared but curious and went to see it alone. When I went around the back, the torii and the shrine that we had made were gone, but only Jizo was left there. When we set it up, the face of Jizo was worn down and couldn't tell what expression it had. But at that moment, the Jizo seemed to be smiling. Then I thought to myself, it's enough.